What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Simply a Breeze. My name is Brie if you're new here, and today we are up potting our tomatoes and our peppers and our poor lettuce and our cilantro. The cilantro, unfortunately, has been so utterly neglected, but we're about to change that. We're about to improve its life. So if gardening is something that you're interested in, if you're gardening this year, if you want to see what I'm doing, I don't necessarily know if what I'm doing is going to help you out, but maybe you'll learn something, or maybe you'll just get free entertainment. So if this is something you're interested in, stick around, because that's what we're going to be doing today, or tonight really. It's Monday at evening. It's, I think, 8 o'clock. So, but this is when I had time, so this is what we're doing. Let me go show you what we're working with and what we've got going on down here and what we're actually going to be transplanting or up potting, and then we'll get to getting everything into much bigger places. Okay, so here we actually planted all of this stuff a little while back, and we've got purple basil. I think this is either I think this is sweet basil. This is supposed to be, one's supposed to be lemon balm, and then the other one's supposed to be lemon basil. Don't know which one that is. But my dill, this is all dill, and it's looking great. I believe this is all chamomile, which is exciting. I believe that's parsley. These are cauliflower. I believe this was a strawflower variety. I know this is a strawflower variety. That's a strawflower variety, and that's a strawflower variety. And I think they went all the way down. I believe. I'm not 100% sure though. Those are cosmos, and they are looking fabulous. And then these are all nasturtiums. I love nasturtiums, so I'm excited about that. This poor cilantro, man, I have been meaning to up pot this poor cilantro for weeks, and it's just been severely neglected. There are several cilantro plants per cell, and it's really struggling to survive. So we're going to get it up potted. It's going to be much happier. We have leeks that probably also need to get into the ground, so I need to start hardening those off. And then in my hardening off process, I did actually kill a couple of our thyme plants. So that one's looking a little sad. It may survive. These two, if we can keep these two alive, we're doing great. And my oregano was looking fabulous, and now it looks incredibly depressed as well. But our peppers, these are our tomatoes. These are tomatillos over here. And I have three cabbage plants, and they are not happy living next to the tomatoes. They are actually foes. I did not plan that properly, so we're going to fix that as well. This is parsley. I believe these were my Sugar Rush peach peppers, and they just never germinated. And I think these were shishito peppers, and my shishito peppers, the seed was old and done for, so I threw it out. But the rest of these peppers are ready to be up potted. I had some lettuce that ended up with some peppers, so the poor peppers are like fighting to survive over here. And then this poor lettuce is so overcrowded, so we're going to up pot that as well so we can start hardening it off to be outside. And then I accidentally grabbed, none of my peppermint germinated, so I went to go grab peppermint from a local nursery, and I got mint pineapple. I didn't get peppermint, so that was a little saddening. Only one of my varieties of kale also did well, so I got us some dinosaur kale. So we're going to give dinosaur kale a try this year, and because I knew my oregano was dying, I went ahead from the local nursery, got us some more oregano. So we will have oregano this year, even though I didn't grow it for myself. But the great thing about oregano and peppermint is they're perennials in our area, so they will overwinter, and I should only have to buy them once unless we get an incredibly hard, super cold freeze, which killed my kale and my lavender plant 2 years ago. So hopefully that's not the case, but we shall see. Okay, so first things first is I'm going to actually put my cilantro into pots. I want to stick it in a spot in our backyard that mostly gets shade. Our summers here get crazy hot, and so there's a spot in our backyard that predominantly gets just a bit of morning sun, and then it's predominantly shaded the rest of the day, which is going to help the cilantro out a lot, because cilantro actually is not a fan of high heat weather. So I'm getting these pots filled and situated so that way I can go ahead and get the cilantro into here, and I can start hardening it off again so we can get it outside. And then it's less stuff on my shelves. And then we're going to get our tomatoes, our peppers, our tomatillos, the red cabbages, the lettuce, and the oregano and the thyme. We're gonna see if we can get those to be thriving again as well. If not, that's okay. We tried. The plant should have tried harder to live. After all, I am its gardener, so I put it through a lot. So come along with me as we get this done. All right, we got our nifty little trap. Let me get this out of the way. This guy out of the way. This guy up here. This thing is awesome. If I can find this for you guys, I'll link it for you because I think it's wonderful. I'm very happy one of my sister-in-laws got it for me. Okay, there we go. Let's get you thriving again, guys. All right, this poor cilantro, man. Tell you what, I put this cilantro through the ringer, and I dampened this soil. This soil's actually been outside, so it really didn't need to be dampened, but I do think I am gonna add some nutrients into it to help the cilantro fare just a little bit better, because this soil's from last year. And I'm also trying to fluff it up a little bit because it's a little compact right now. I've got some worm castings here. We are actually going to be operating out of the side because there was a hole in it when I bought it. It was also the only bag left. So I took it and they gave me a discount. This soil was already pre-mixed with worm castings, so I'm not worried about getting any in there. All right, let's see if we can successfully get these guys out. Oh no, what did I do? Okay, well, let's see. Oh, there we go. I'll just... get you out. I'm gonna fiddle with this. There we go. Fantastic. We're getting there. This is gonna be a slow process, but we're gonna get it figured on out. And that's honestly, oh, it smells so good, guys. I don't know if you're one of those people that loves the smell of cilantro. I absolutely love the smell of cilantro. So like I said, this poor cilantro has been incredibly neglected. This seedling tray as a whole had my spinach, my cabbages, my thyme, my oregano, the cilantro, the leeks, the celery, and I was originally hardening off the whole seedling tray. However, I quickly learned that the cabbage and the spinach really needed to be up potted. They were starting to get too crowded and fight with one another, and I didn't want any of them dying off. And in that process, I neglected to up pot the cilantro at the same time. And so this poor cilantro has just been confined to this seedling tray for far longer than it needed to be. So it felt really good to go ahead and get this cilantro up potted and taken care of. And I am happy to report it is looking much happier now that it is no longer fighting for space. Woohoo! We have cilantro finally up potted. So let me go ahead and give them just a little drink. And hopefully they start perking up here soon. Let's not let them fall over. We're gonna let this sit here for a second. We're gonna need these. Let me go ahead and get the thyme up potted as well. Let me go ahead and break apart some of these clumps. That thyme smells so good, and I'm doing my best to try and like be delicate because it's a tiny, delicate plant. But there we go. That's better. Alright, we're going to see if we can get this oregano transplanted as well. I'm going to be honest, I don't have super high hopes that this is going to be successful, but we shall see. Holy buckets. Okay. Oh, well, we got another cilantro plant that may... Oh, that guy's holding on. So, you know what? We'll plop him right there. And he's gonna make it. There we go. Boop, boop. Just pop a little soil around him. Yeah, he should be fine. He'll perk up tomorrow, but we got thyme. Ooh, I may be able to... Let's see if I can get... Okay, I may have successfully saved 3 thyme plants. These other ones, they're all goners. That's okay. What was it? The 2 celeries that germinated, I fried. They are totally done. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting these leeks hardened off, and the rest of this soil will go into the garden. It won't go to waste. And who knows, maybe we'll have some really fun volunteer plants. But we're gonna call this guy good. Okay, now we're on to the main event. Okay, we're gonna move these guys off to the side. I'll water these guys when I water all of the transplants over here. So for now, these are gonna sit out of my way. I'll put that on the ground as well.
And coming to you from the future, I am sad to report that the oregano did not successfully transplant and has since died, but 2 of the 3 thyme plants that I transplanted are still alive and thriving. So that is a wonderful success, so hopefully we have time this year.
Okay, there's just a little bit of soil left in there. I'm gonna get the tomatoes taken care of because I also need to keep in mind what tomatoes are what. My Roma tomatoes are determinate. I'll just whisk this one over. So I'm grabbing the Romas right now. Oops. Oh wow, those peeled apart.
If you notice, what I'm trying to do with the tomatoes is tomatoes, if you plant them as deep as you can, they will actually grow roots along their stem. So if the stem gets buried, it will start putting off roots. And these are just a little bit on the leggy side. So I am trying to get them potted as deeply as possible to help make them have a much stronger base. And that's what I'm showing you here in this angle, is how deep I potted them. Tomatoes are actually one of my absolute favorite things to grow in the garden. They were one of the first things I started growing when I wanted to start gardening. So I was incredibly excited to get my tomatoes up potted. They are looking really good at the time of me transplanting them, but also now in the future, they look like they are much happier. They have their own space. So that makes me feel really good. And I cannot wait to get these into the ground officially in the garden, because it's just going to be a lot of fun. I love going through and picking tomatoes, and especially the cherry tomatoes. I love going through and just picking cherry tomatoes and snacking on them as I do other garden work.
Okay, so I want this to be separate from those, because these are determinate plants and this is an indeterminate plant, so I need to keep these separate. So I'm going to stick these guys on the ground and out of the way for now. What a jungle.
So I need to remember which tomatoes are the determinate tomatoes and which tomatoes are the indeterminate tomatoes, because of the way that I plan to plant them and where I intend to plant them in the garden this year. My determinate tomatoes are only going to get so big and so tall so I can put them in different places, whereas my indeterminate tomatoes are going to get much, much bigger and vine out. So I want them to grow up a trellis this year instead of the Florida weave method that I attempted last year. That method worked out okay, and it wasn't terrible, but I feel like the process could have been improved upon. So I'm going to try something a little bit different this year, and I'll take you guys along with me as I do that.
Okay, so this is going to be a little tricky because I need to get the peppers transplanted, but I need to make sure I keep them straight so I know what I'm planting where, because maybe all I want to do specifically is keep the tam jalapenos separate from the regular jalapenos, because somebody said that they could possibly cross-pollinate, and then my non-hot jalapenos were probably then becoming hot because of that. So we're going to test it out and see if that's the case. So, based off of my handy dandy, okay, so my tam jalapenos are there. Parsley, my sugar rush peach, and my shishito peppers were just a total and utter flop. That's so disappointing. So were my cayennes? Okay, now I'm really confused. So I don't know what everything else is. I know what my tam jalapenos are and my bell peppers are, and then everything else is going to be a complete and utter guess. So we'll find out. So we're going to try gravy. Okay, so this is a bell pepper, tam we'll up pot everything else and we'll hope for the best.
So as I'm watching this back through, and as I found another reference of how I laid out all of my peppers and tomatoes, it does look like my cayenne peppers and my Marconi peppers did in fact germinate. It was just my shishito peppers and my sugar rush peach peppers that did not germinate at all. So that was great news to discover. However, looking at the other chart I have, and that chart I believe is actually more accurate than the one I was referencing in the video, because I updated that chart as I was editing the video where we started the pepper and tomato seeds. It looks like I may have jumbled up my hot jalapenos with my non-hot jalapenos. And so when I go to plant, we're just going to plant things and we're going to figure out what they are as they grow. I definitely need to come up with a much better naming identification system going forward. Last year I had a system that I thought would work, and it ultimately ended up not working because of the way that I did it, and all of my writing got washed out when I would water, and that kind of defeated the purpose of me labeling everything. So next year I'm definitely going to have to come up with a much better solution to keep things straight. I just really hope I kept my tomatoes straight in this up potting process, because I would hate to put my determinate tomatoes somewhere along a trellis versus put my indeterminate tomatoes somewhere that I wasn't intending to. So only time will tell. We're going to learn a lot of things this year, because clearly mistakes were made.
Guys. Slowly but surely. Let's get this guy out of the way real quick. Oh. We're going to put all the lettuce, or we're going to try anyways. The lettuce I'm going to plant 2 per
In the last video where we went ahead and put our cabbages and our spinach into the ground in the garden, I talked about how we have a slug issue. And last year, every time I tried to start lettuce in the garden beds from seed direct sowing, the slugs would eat the new seedling sprouts, and I never ended up with lettuce. So I'm hoping this year that the diatomaceous earth worked. I haven't seen any other signs of slugs, and I'll probably apply one more dusting of diatomaceous earth. But I'm hoping this year I can direct sow some lettuce as well, and then we can actually have a lettuce harvest for far longer than we did last year. And I'm really excited and hoping that the lettuce does far better this year than it did last year.
So tam, bell pepper, banana. That should be totally fine because those aren't hot peppers, so I feel okay keeping those guys together.
In spite of the mishap of mislabeling and clearly not knowing what some of my peppers are, these peppers look pretty decent. And I think as long as, now that I've got them separated and now that they all have their own little pot, I'm going to keep fertilizing them, keeping them strong, getting them growing. I think the pepper harvest this year is going to be far better than last year because I put my peppers in the wrong spot last year and they didn't get nearly the amount of sun that they needed. And so they put on fruit, but none of the fruit ripened for the most part. So this year I'm going to put them in a much better spot and hope that I have a much better yield this year than last year. And that makes me pretty excited. Every year is a learning lesson for me in the garden.
Okay, we'll let this guy dry and then we'll clean him out later. It's a ginormous stick. Well, we didn't quite contain all of the mess today. But you know what? we got a lot accomplished, which for me is a big deal because I've been pushing a lot of this off for far too long. So I'm really happy I was able to get this done today, and now I know it's taken care of, and everything has room to grow again. It's absolutely wonderful. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you learned something, and let me know if you guys are starting a garden this year, because this is my second year with the big garden. So I've been saying this is my second year gardening, but it's technically my third. It's my second year with my big raised garden beds. I didn't have those 2 years ago. So let me know if you're gardening. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being here. Please consider giving me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and consider subscribing because there's so much more garden content coming up, and I plan on covering a host of new topics for essential life skills that everybody should know. So have a wonderful rest of your night, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.